So how high would you say you are, honey?
Me? I'm not that high. It's more of just tired from these allergy medications.
I meant high on the allergy meds.
I gotcha. Well, then I'm pretty high.
Yeah, man, you've been kind of out of it all day long.
Yeah, that's because I've been asleep.
The day started out real good. We got right up, got right to a walk, and then, you died.
I did die. It's the allergies, man. I had an attack of allergies. I sneezed so loud that we frightened a foreign man on the street. He's foreign looking to me.
He looks like he could be Pakistani or Indian. I'm not sure which, and I know they hate each other, so that's probably a bad comparison. And yet, from my very ignorant white American middle-class worldview, that's what it looked like to me. What would you say?
I'd say you're a racist.
A shin show.
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 Do you think it's appropriate or inappropriate for me to say that Sarah's got a dumpy?
What's a dumpy?
A dumpy is a thick but shapely ass.
Is that right? Is that what a dumpy is?
It is what a dumpy is.
No, it's not appropriate for you to share that.
But she does have one. I mean, she just stuck it in the camera for us to see. So those of you who've never seen Sarah, just imagine her with a very nice dumpy.
Don't do that. She's my daughter. Don't imagine my daughter with a nice dumpy or any kind of dumpy. Imagine her as a disembodied voice, if you must imagine her at all.
We all have bodies. It's okay. We don't have to be ashamed of our bodies. And just because somebody has a nice dumpy doesn't mean I'm saying, hey, everybody go out and, physically attack or rape Sarah Shin. Nobody wants that. But she has a body that she lives in, so she might as well have a cute one that she feels good in.
That all sounds very empowering, but I'm just going to say it again. Don't imagine my daughter with a dumpy, okay?
Fine.
Hey, and I'm not going to let this go, by the way. You were disgusted by Elsie saying that I had a dump truck ass, which thank you, Elsie.
You're welcome.
But I have heard in detail, not only about your sex life, but your masturbatory habits, and that's okay.
Oh, you thought that was in detail. That was light. That was just the index.
It doesn't matter. The point is...
That was just the table of contents. We haven't even gotten into the literature.
It's not fun when it's on the other hand or something.
My daughter is my property, okay? So when anybody talks any kind of way about her, they have to get my consent first. Can you hand me that water, please?
I never said any such thing. Sure, it was certainly implied, but I didn't say that.
You know what this is? This actually isn't even water. It's GHB.
Oh, great. Well, I hope
date rape drug.
He will remember none of this or anything from the past, 78 days.
I'm about to date rape myself. When you take GHB, you're supposed to take the caps full. Just the cap full.
Well, it could be the cap full diluted in water.
And that's going to fuck you up. If you was drinking straight, you would die.
What even does GHB do?
I have actually never done it, but you make it in a bathtub. It's called the date rape drug because it's clear. It's water. So you could put it in a drinks. Woman's, yeah, sure. But people also it does fuck you up. It's like a recreational party drug as well.
I've heard that women who get date raped then it fucks their liver up. They can't handle alcohol and shit after that.
Because of the drugs administered?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you mix those, a lot of those things attack the liver on its own. So when you mix alcohol, which obviously attacks the liver as well with it, it does, quadruple damage.
I just wonder what kind of research is out there.
There could always be more.
Why don't I look into it? This week.
Liquid LSD, that's what this is right here, dude. I'm chugging it by the gallon.
It's water.
I would never come back. I would go to the nether realm and never return if that were the case.
It's water.
It's water. The important thing is that we're here, we're together, we all sound good. Y'all look good.
Elsie, I love your nails. I was going to try and shoehorn that in somewhere, but they're great. They look fantastic.
Thank you. Yes. They're getting a lot of love. They're almost a little too much for me, but they're just enough.
They really look like that you ripped somebody's heart out directly before the show, and I love that.
Thank you. And they match your outfit perfectly.
Yeah,
it's Kali Ma red.
Oh, yeah. Somebody needs to write OPI.
That would be a fucking cool, lipstick color, nail polish color. Kali Ma red.
What is Kali Ma red?
The guy from fucking Indiana Jones who's like,
Kali Ma. Kali Ma. Kali Ma.
And then he rips the dude's fucking heart out.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Okay. No, I needed that reference, even though that is a movie of my era and not your era.
I don't even think I've seen that movie either. I just,
Jesus
know
Christ.
the memes.
Okay, first of all, Harrison Ford was very formative for me growing up. But
Sure.
second of all, I was playing in the dirt yesterday, just kind of looking at rocks, and I'm like, speaking of formative years, I really wanted to be an archaeologist. I think solely because of Indiana Jones. Well, not solely. I did also fixate on Angelina Jolie as Laura Croft.
That is nice that you, as a brother and sister, share that formative sexual experience of growing up with Laura Croft.
Make it that way?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
make
Angelina
it that way?
Jolie was my first celebrity crush, though. She was like the first.
Not my
woman.
first, but definitely one of the first.
Yeah, she was just there at the right place at the right time in my development for
You're
me to
welcome.
be like, I like that one.
She was my first female crush because it took me a while to be okay with the idea that, I can find other women attractive despite not being, lesbian myself. But I would definitely be a lesbian for Angelina Jolie. So, girl, look me up.
Wow, okay.
Really, anyone at the Shin Show, Angelina Jolie. Come on.
Right.
I think that's an open door.
Yeah, you can choose amongst us.
We'll put our profiles up for you to peruse at your leisure.
Slide into our DMs because I know you're listening, bitch.
I would
Nick
never
just
call
dropped
you
the
a
bottom.
bitch, Angelina.
Ain't nothing no disrespectful. I just talk different.
You something.
I'm glad that we've had this chat and that we've just opened the door to a kind of a family group share with Angelina Jolie. It's kind of a family style.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie, if you're interested in becoming part of a, what is this called? I guess an open relationship with a father, his wife, and son simultaneously.
I want to unsubscribe.
We'll figure it out. Anybody else, this offer is not on fucking the table, but
You know what? I'm back in. I'm subscribed
for
again.
her, we'll figure it out somehow. It ain't going to be easy. It's going to be a rough, we got a rocky road ahead of us, Mrs. Jolie, Miss Jolie.
This will be an exclusive open relationship.
Yeah, an exclusive five-way, I guess, open, semi-closed relationship. And I'm not watching the kids, just so you know.
Aren't they all old enough now to watch themselves at this point?
I think she renews. When
Her
one gets
child
old enough,
leases.
Yeah, when one gets old enough that she doesn't have to watch it, like it can function on its own, then she just goes and gets another one. There's plenty.
That's probably true.
Anyway, Angelina Jolie, thanks for listening, and we sure look forward to having a five-way with you. Well,
No, we never said a
He missed
No,
five-way.
it's always one-on-one.
Yeah, it's all individual. It's just there's an understanding.
And we have to clarify that right
It's an
now.
that we each
exclusive
Yeah.
open relationship.
What Dad is describing is fucked, and that is not what we are jumping on board here for.
Although-
What I'm describing, look, I said it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a tough
It's a little
road.
complicated.
It's going to be tough.
Angelina, I will say, because we are a married couple, you could with both of us if you wanted, but I'd rather have you the way you deserve, just us.
Now, listen, I'm not going to watch the kids. I'm not emotionally available, but I am also a very selfish lover. So, holla.
well, the first step is communication, don't you agree? So I'm glad we're talking about it and getting all the ground rules straight before anything untoward happens.
Yeah, before anything major happens.
Sure, before she calls. We've got our story straight, our act together. We know what we're talking about. So call one, all of us. We could do a conference call, I think.
Email
A
us.
conference call would be acceptable.
Snapchat me.
I mean, because there's going to have to be a shared calendar where we, work out the time.
we are going to have to go get dinner or something, sit down, each pull out our calendars.
I'm so glad you followed that up with calendars.
Yeah, same.
Oh, by the way, I have no calendars, and I will escalate the smallest perceived slight to insanely violent levels.
Of rage.
Directed at you, myself, an animal, anything.
Holla.
He's a keeper.
So be advised. I'm going to be putting my unregistered serial scratched off pistols into your purse.
Speaking of unregistered, I'm changing the subject. We love
Thank
you,
you.
Angie. I got a piece of mail, certified mail, in my mailbox that said, hey, your motorcycle is in impound and it'll be $450 to pick it up. The motorcycle that I sold over a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoop, right in the trash.
Well, no,
Because
because
guess what? You can, for $450, get that motorcycle back.
I can and then resell it, assuming that it's in good enough condition, because who knows why it's impounded.
Maybe go
However,
look.
because I'm the last registered owner, which means that the person that I sold it to didn't ever go take it to the DMV to get it registered.
I think
but I don't have a
Murph
title.
when she sold it to that guy.
I don't have a title. I might have a copy of the bill of sale. Maybe.
You got the fucking piece of mail that says this is your motorcycle. Come pick it up.
Right. But then I have to go get another title and all that kind of bullshit. And then do I really want to be financially responsible for $450 for this fucking motorcycle I already sold?
Well, just see if go have a lookie at it and see if it's still good.
I'm with Nick. If it still looks like it's in good shape, then spend the money, get it out. Retitling it isn't hard. It's like a $50 fee because that's what they have registered. That's how they knew to find you because they look up their titles.
It's a cycle so nice you could sell it twice.
Maybe, assuming it hasn't been totally trashed. But if you don't go get it, then the towing company can sue you for it.
What?
Yeah. Because
sue you?
Yeah.
To not pick it up?
To pay for the impound fees.
Oh, to pay that $400?
Yeah. Well,
What?
and it's an extra $15 each day.
What is this
So you're kind of just on the hook for this?
Well, I mean, if I went to court and I could produce I don't know, the
A
bill of
proof of
sale,
Yeah.
or something like that, then they might drop
of
it,
course
or the
you don't
judge
have.
or the judge might drop it. But
What is this motorcycle worth?
well, I sold it for $3,000, I think.
Well, then, in assuming it's not all effed up, then it's more than worth the effort to go get it out and sell it again.
Yeah,
Go sell it
probably
for
so.
12. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
make a little fucking
Even $500 would be nice.
800
Could be
profit.
right.
Would be nice to make on it.
Yeah.
All
What
right,
if
you guys,
I'd go
you
give
guys
it a
talk
look.
me around. Go
Give
get
it a
Sure.
look.
It's not every day you get to sell the same vehicle twice legally.
All right.
Speaking of which, my buddy, this dude I know, his stepson went and bought a car at a shady ass dealership in.
A buy here, pay here type place.
Yeah, I think he's a young kid. He's like 18, and he's been working, and he's been saving up all his money. Went and bought a shitty car for like $600.
Yeah.
At this shady ass dealership in Council Bluffs. He opens the fucking trunk, gets into the spare tire hatch, you know, and he finds a koozie in there with $1,000.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And he paid $600 for the car. So
Fuck
he
yeah.
just got paid $400 to get that car.
For inspecting the vehicle is what he did.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I would never have found that.
It's a free car and $400.
Hell yeah.
You know?
That's a great deal. I wish I had a deal like that.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty balling. Like now,
Yeah.
it does not matter how long that car lasts.
Yeah,
you know
because
what I mean?
it was free.
Yeah, you just got that car. So
Somebody's upset about that koozie though.
Oh, I'll say.
yeah, someone's tripping. Had been tripping.
Or they didn't notice.
Yeah, maybe. $1,000 is hard not to notice,
Yeah.
especially in cash, in a koozie, in the
Yeah.
spare. Like they, you
Yeah,
know.
that was a stash.
Yeah, that was supposed to go to somebody.
Or maybe that somebody, used that as their savings account and they died. Maybe that's why that car was in the impound lot.
Could be.
Yeah,
That
or
could
it
be.
could be a dude who had drugs in his car and also that money, and the cops found the drugs
But
and
not
were
the
like,
money.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then
Impounded the car.
yeah, and then the dude's in jail, so he can't fucking get it back out.
Well, in which case he's still tripping about that koozie.
Yeah, well, he knows it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone by now.
Or it could also have been, for example, an espionage operation where a spy had a number of different stashes of money around the city, wasn't
Dead
planning
drops.
on. Yeah, exactly. It could be one of
Love
those
it.
things. Yeah. There's so many different alternatives to this $1,000. But the bottom line is, this happened to your friend?
No, well, my friend's stepson. I wouldn't even call him a friend. He's an associate. This guy I know.
His stepson.
His stepson, yeah.
This already sounds like a tall tale. I'm not going to lie to you.
It could be.
Luck happens.
Remember I
Bless you.
told
All
you?
right, let me put it like this. This guy's kind of like an employer.
Sure.
I did a job for him, and he gave me $400 cash, and then I went and lost that $400 cash. So the next time I went to go do the menial manual labor that I do for him to pay, then he was going to pay me. I said, dude, check this out. I lost. You remember when you gave me $400? I went right to the bar and lost it, dude. All right, not the bar, the fucking gas station. And he's like, damn. He's like, well, guess what happened to my stepson, man? He just bought this shitty ass car, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Could be a lie.
Well, it doesn't sound
Didn't
like
seem like it, though.
it. No, it seems like it was in response to
Yeah.
your situation and so wholly organic and therefore not a lie.
Yeah.
But it does sound like it when you say my associate's stepson, my kind of employer's stepson. It
Sure.
sounds like, you're just making that up.
I knew
Yeah.
a guy who knew a guy.
That's what
Knew
it
a
sounds
guy.
like. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be made up. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And then his
We're
son,
going to choose that it's not, though.
after he found that $1,000 in the koozie, a grizzly bear came out of the woods and ate his ass alive.
Which was really impressive given its locale.
Yeah.
And then the grizzly bear was chased off and ridden by Angelina Jolie.
You'd be very surprised
We just missed her.
which parts of that story are true.
Very surprised. Hey, did we talk about Derek Chauvin last week?
Oh, no, we didn't. That was just like a couple days ago that he got sentenced.
Yeah.
Sentenced
It was like
22 and a half.
Which is
That's fair.
isn't he in another trial for another murder he did?
No, he's doing a federal appeal is what he's going to do. He made this statement saying, I offer my condolences to the family. Some more information is going to come out that will hopefully ease your minds. And so what he's doing there is he's not saying sorry because that could be used as an admission of guilt in court.
Right.
So they're going to do appeals processes. He may get it appealed federally and may not serve that whole time, but that's a big, long, bureaucratic, gummed up process to do these appeals. So the point is, motherfucker's going to be in prison for a while, at least, until this really gets finally settled.
That's a fact. And I would say that the other issues that he's facing legally include a civil suit, a wrongful death suit.
Yeah,
to
that's what I was talking about.
Strip him of any assets he might ever receive or have. And then the other thing that is going on is a federal civil rights case. And if he gets convicted in federal court from a civil rights point of view, then he'll be put away for additional time in addition to this state conviction. So he's looking at a long legal road indeed.
He's what? How old is he? He's got to be at least 40, right?
Mid-40s.
Mid-40s. So he's got, assuming this doesn't get appealed, which I don't think it is. This is like clearly an example of we're going to make an example out of this one.
Yeah.
So the people shut the fuck up and stop breaking into Target, you know?
Right.
22 and a half years, he's 66 years old at that point, he's not, listen, I'm sure he's going to be put in protective custody, but everybody knows who that motherfucker is. He's not going to have a fun time in prison. He's not going to be clicking up with anybody, I don't think, except maybe some Peckerwoods because he's white.
Also, he's a cop, though. So he's going to do all the things to get out with good behavior in the shortest amount of time. And they probably will put him in some sort of maximum security for his own security.
With the pedophiles and shit. Yeah.
So he'll probably serve 10.
11, maybe. I mean, it depends, this is a federal case, right? Is it in the state?
It was a state
of
thing.
Minneapolis.
No, Minneapolis is not a state, son, but Minnesota is.
Minnesota. What the fuck ever, dude? This shares 3 of the same syllables.
Sure, it's very close.
2, at least 2.
Right. There's some substantial similarities between Minneapolis and Minnesota. They overlap a little bit, for sure. But the point here is not whether or not...
Minneapolis is in Minnesota, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
okay.
I got that right, at least. Fuck.
Sure.
Anyway, the point is, if this is a if he's being tried by the Minnesota state and not federally for this specifically, then their times, good time works different there,
Sure.
Sometimes it's not half. Sometimes it's, 3/4. Sometimes it's a mandatory 15, whatever it is.
Sometimes it's less, though, as well.
Sometimes it's less. I don't know.
Well, I think what we really ought to do is send somebody to law school in Minnesota, and then at the end of your period of legal instruction, if you pass the bar, then you'll know the answer to that question.
I mean, you could probably find out the answer to that question before needing to pass the bar.
Right. That was exactly my point.
But I mean,
quick
this
Google.
All right. Well, maybe we could go that
I
route
think
too.
a Goog could probably. Now, it might take a little. It might not be quick. You might have to get pretty specific. Put the right keywords in there.
Might be a 30-second.
Dude, Googling is a skill, bro. I don't have it. You've seen me try to Google shit. I just Google all the wrong words.
You don't. That's because you didn't pick it up in grade school with all the special symbols and the exclusionary stuff. And
Nope. I don't even know what the fuck you just said.
Yeah, that's because sometimes you're a little son.
Wow.
I'm always a little. It's just there's
The level of which is not a phrase that we use on this show.
Not at all.
spectrum.
I'll cut all that out. I won't.
Anyway, so and I don't know how to Google shit. So that means Derek Chauvin's getting out in 2 years.
I'm
No.
changing the subject again.
Yeah. Okay.
DC.
So you know how Bill Gates is apparently a pedophile and a huge piece of shit?
Wait, what?
Sure.
Huh?
Well, wait a minute.
I mean,
Well,
I know
boys
he's
with
putting
Epstein.
chips in our brains with coronavirus vaccinations, but what else now? He's
well,
a pedophile?
You must have missed it. You must not have been on the show that week. But we discussed the fact that Melinda French Gates first consulted a divorce attorney when it came out that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in sex trafficking. Once she figured that out, she pulled the plug on her marriage. And so, as the children have
Which
pointed
means
out,
she's complicit too.
yes, well, but nevertheless, Bill Gates and Epstein were boys. That's the whole point.
So we know this for a fact that it's like correlation and causation and not coincidental.
Yeah, we
Look,
know
the
this.
point is that I'm listening to this podcast called Behind the Bastards.
Great
and,
podcast.
Well, they did a 2-part episode on Bill Gates, is my point. I'm halfway through it, so I thought that would interest you.
Anything crazy coming out first ep?
Apparently, Bill Gates is a huge dick, and they have like a bunch of evidence for that.
Let me guess. He's like kind of a slaver.
First of all, he's affluent, right?
Yeah.
Like his parents had money, like he was
do you
born
mean-
into money. Everyone tries
Affluent.
to.
She meant affluent.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
What did I say?
Affluent.
You said affluent, but you meant
You said
affluent.
affluent. You mean affluent. Affluent. Instead of
Sure.
affluent.
Yeah,
I put
I
the
wasn't
wrong
going to make it a
emphasis
thing. I was trying to
On the
give
wrong
her-
syllable.
Yeah.
And Dad's an
well,
asshole.
No, you put the L in the wrong.
I'm an asshole. My
I
kid.
have
Okay,
now.
anyway,
Okay,
so
all right.
Bill Gates, big
Finally,
dick,
it's out of my
yes.
hands. It tastes good.
Anyway, Bill Gates. So like he's just a jerk.
Yeah,
you know,
just a
he
dick.
wants to steal. Well, not steal. He wants to cheat the system, but then charge everyone for trying to do the same thing as
Right,
him.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
to
yeah.
make that motherfucking money.
That cheddar, dog.
Yeah, so-
That's that cash money mentality.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Gates, one thing I could say about that
So-
dude, he got that cash money mentality.
There's a big divide in the computing in the software world, okay, between closed source and open source.
Okay.
And open source communities are like, we share everything. Everyone can see the source code. That way we can all build on it together and iterate
Make new
upon
shit. Yeah.
upon everyone's ideas, right?
Yeah, and then if you have a Linux system, don't forget if you have the time thing where you can go and back everything up, that they don't necessarily back
with
everything
great
up.
Bitter
power
party
comes
of
great
one.
responsibility, Daddy.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what to tell you.
Well,
You
great-
did not exercise your responsibility well.
Yeah.
Fucking Linux.
Great response to Trilla Trust.
Yeah, who's
Anyway.
the guy who buys the Windows system, forces it to Linux, and then forces it back to Windows anyway? Sorry. Continue, Sarah.
Microsoft benefited hugely from the open source community and then basically gate kept them from Windows and shit. And
They
so
gave the open sources like, here, come, let's all learn together. And then when all the unpaid strangers,
it's not quite that simple. It's
maybe
Bill,
that
Bill
wasn't
Gates,
the intention, but
Bill Gates and this other dude whose name I don't remember and don't care to.
Steve Jobs.
sold-
Bill,
Huh?
Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were huge
It was not
competitors
Steve
in the
Jobs.
90s.
Yeah, this is after
she
Steve
would- I think
Jobs.
she would
This is after
remember
the
Steve
Are we
Jobs.
talking about working together?
Yeah,
Oh, Stephen Ballmer then probably.
maybe that might be it.
Yeah.
Anyway, these guys wrote software
more
for
like suck
a
my Balmer. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
All right.
They wrote software, sold it to a company that sold PCs, and then people bought those PCs with that software on it, disseminated it, and then I don't know if I said that one right either. If you want to
You did.
fucking jump on my dick for that.
But it was the original viral marketing is what it was. And then you were locked into the Microsoft system. I've been locked into a Microsoft system for 30 years, which is why I tried to do Linux.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, but that is part of it. But the open source community jumped on the software that they wrote and started making it bigger and better. It was like a catch-22 when IBM. So IBM was the target of a antitrust lawsuit because they didn't want IBM to be the monopoly for hardware.
They saved us.
Well, so then they went to Microsoft and was like, make us an OS for our stuff because we can't make our own OS that will make us a monopoly. And so eventually when PCs were becoming, going out in the market, they were like, well, what is everybody using? Well, everyone was using Microsoft because it was in the open source community. And then they kind of locked us in because then Microsoft was like, fuck you, open source. Fuck you. We'll step on you and then lock you out. So anyway.
We'll step on you and put it on OnlyFans and get paid.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of
Bitch.
which, though, Bill Gates does have a history of, lewd and lascivious behavior with strippers and employees. And
Yeah, so
Does he really?
they opened the podcast with, "Hey,
Yeah.
Bill Gates is a pedophile and a huge piece of shit," and we'll get to that. But first, let's establish his baseline behavior as a grade A asshole.
But first, look, he's a pedophile. He is a pedophile and a piece of shit. We're going to get to that. But first,
Yeah.
we're going to prove to you that he's also just a good old fashioned dick.
Exactly. They literally said, look, this is class actionable statements we're making, but he's a pedophile.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, if you guys want to subject yourself to that, I gave you the TLDR, but part 2.
So that's Behind the Bastards, the Bill Gates episodes.
Yes.
I listened to the one on Elon Musk, and surprisingly, Elon Musk himself hasn't done anything outwardly, straight up pedophilic or evil, but he is just like an overseer, a slave overseer.
So it turns out that people who are most likely to have what we define as success are the best at manipulating others, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
stepping right on them.
Yeah. You got to step on people's necks. And also it helps to have a lot of money from your family beforehand, which all of these guys do.
Yep.
So very few of anybody just pulled themselves up by the bootstraps like they say they did.
So I was talking with one of my coworkers, and mind you, I work in a very Christian workplace. Yeah. So the whole
concept. Can we call it Christish from now on?
Sure. The whole concept of what the fuck am I trying to say?
Critical race theory. That's what you're talking about.
Yes, thank you. That is exactly it. Thank you.
Why is your fucking employer talking about critical race theory? What the fuck does she know
about critical race theory? Not my employer.
I see.
But the point of me saying that I work in a very Christian workplace is to imply that they hire Christian people. Like I am kind of the anomaly there.
Which you lied about on your resume.
Yeah. They cannot take me to court on that.
Right. It was a bullet point. Loves Christ.
Yeah. Love Christ.
I showed up with henna of the crucifixion.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that went over well.
The Virgin Mary, all that. Rosaries.
She's not Catholic, but yes. Anyway.
Fuck. You were talking to your coworker about critical race theory, who said...
So the thing that clicked with him was, so this black family had 3 auto shops. Okay. One of them got vandalized or arsonisted or whatever.
Okay.
And they
didn't... just said burned down, it's all good.
Thanks. And didn't have insurance because black people could not own insurance. So...
Oh, when was this? Like a while ago?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
At the point, they couldn't have insurance.
Couldn't be insured.
So instead of being able to file an insurance claim and recoup their losses, the family had to shut down their other business to consolidate the one to get it to survive. And that is family, like class wealth that they could have built on and lost out of because of racism.
Yeah,
specific systematic racism.
Exactly because of racism.
Yeah.
Like if racism didn't exist, they would have
had their family would have had money. Yeah. So he's like, that's really what made it click for me was, oh shit, that's what they mean by racism. Because this family could not have insurance, they do not have generational wealth.
Sometimes you got to see it.
Yeah.
I had no idea that Bill Gates apparently is a dick. But along the lines of critical race theory, I this week learned something I couldn't believe that I had never known. And it's been obvious and just in front of my face forever. And I just never knew it, which is that within a year of the Civil War and the emancipation of slaves, they created within that 13th Amendment this line about, hey, so slavery is not cool, but we can punish people kind of to work through the prison system if they've committed a crime. And then they purposely created all these laws and black codes. In Louisiana, if you were a black pastor and you weren't specifically allowed to be a pastor in that town, by that town, and you were caught preaching without this special license from the white folk, you could be put in jail and work in a prison gang the rest of your life. And it was that way until the 1940s. So from the end of slavery all the way up to the 1940s. Oh, in South Carolina, it's worse. If your parents are found homeless, they can just take you as the child until you're 21 and make you be a slave in somebody's house. And they can punish you however they want just because your parents were homeless. Let's see, maybe your parents were homeless because of all the other systemic fucking racism.
Sure.
Right. And that was supposed to be some kind of foster system.
This is the kind of shit that, people...
That's why we need to abolish the prison system.
Well, not the prison system, you need a place for bad people to go.
Yeah.
You need a hole in the ground for murderers and rapists to go in.
Sure.
You need that. But when people are making money off throwing murderers and rapists and people who smoke weed and whatever the fuck else. When people are making money off it, then you can just falsify these crimes. There's just incentive. If you get a nice fat yacht by having more prisoners in your prison and also the resources to influence the laws to make it so it's easier for people to go to prison. You're just incentivized. You are rewarded for imprisoning people who are working license plates for a penny a day, whatever the fuck it is. You're a slaver. Now, we don't call it that. There's a lot of funny little loop arounds and
capitalism.
Semantics and laws and things to make it so you're not a quote unquote slaver. But like, if we just look at the spirit of what we're doing, not the letter, then how is it any different?
Excuse me here. I'd like to take an alternative point of view, which is this, that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their
et cetera. Yeah, we don't need to read the whole thing. But the point is...
I just did. And what I would tell you is that these people who are doing this labor are doing it in penance for a duly convicted crime by a jury of their peers, son.
Thanks, Nixon.
Yeah, by a jury of their white peers. Anyway, here's the point. All they did was say, listen, you can't have, just because you're black, you can't be born a slave. But we can make you a slave if we want. Yeah. That's what that is.
Exactly. We can treat you even worse than we did when you were our property. Because when you were our property, we had to give a shit about you. Now we can just work you to death because you're a fucking criminal.
Yeah, we had a vested interest in making sure you were, fed right and able to walk. But now, we've made it so there's literally all of you out there. We can just snatch you up when we're running low on labor. Or we caught you loitering. Whatever the fuck. Now, I'm not the wokest person there is. I feel like we're doing a bit of an overcorrect on the whole PC culture, which is whatever. That's a whole separate thing. But I do agree that, it does annoy me when people are like, systemic racism isn't a thing. It's like, dude, yes, it is. Like, who made all the rules? Let me ask you, who made all the rules? Right. All of them that we follow today. First off, old white people. And that's a big one to keep in mind. Old white slave owners. But also just some fucking guys. They were just some people. And they were guys. They were all men. Yeah, right. So, these guys weren't woke. George Washington wasn't woke.
Well, he was a slave owner. I will say that the Behind the Bastards podcast made this comment that we should have this committee of 60-year-old women with tire irons who can just go fuck people up when they fuck up like that. And I like that. I like that idea. I would like to apply for that preemptively so that when I turn 60, I might get a spot.
In what situation do we deploy the 60-year-old, the unit?
Like a judge does some bullshit.
Corrupt judge.
Yeah.
We send the old women with the tire irons. Yeah. Well, what would they be called? There has to be a name for the unit.
This is up to you now, Mr. Creative Brain.
Yeah, we call it the Cultural Revolution. Mao Zedong did that. Only he did it with teenage kids. He sent teenage kids around to beat the shit out of their own parents.
I just learned about that.
Who did this?
Mao Zedong. Yeah, that was kind of his last gasp as leader of the Chinese Communist Party. He was really old. It was in the late 60s and early 70s. Mao was a committed revolutionary, which means that he was committed to employing ultimate terror on his own population, by his own population, in order to maintain his own power. And that's why China was so fucked up until, 1980. I mean, he took over in 1949. He consolidated his power. He led the Communist Party from the 20s on. But he did more to kill more Chinese than any other human being alive.
I don't know about that. I think Genghis Khan might have the all-time heavyweight belt on that, but he's a close second.
I'll tell you what, it would be neck and neck, because as many as 70 million Chinese died in the great famines that were triggered by Mao's Great Leap Forward in the 1950s. The Great Leap Forward left millions dead of famine.
But that was also not I want to kill 50 million people. That's just I'm a dumbass and 50 million people died because of it.
No, I wasn't a dumbass. It was domestic terrorism.
Well, but the reason people died of famine in China at that time is because Mao Zedong had this great idea these birds are fucking with our crops, these birds. So he ordered all of them killed, nearly to extinction. Well, it turns out these birds who were eating the crops were also eating the locusts. So once the birds were gone, the locusts came in and everything was fucked. 50 million people starved to death. That's what happened. It wasn't hey, let's kill 50 million of our own. You know what I mean? He thought he was being slick and 50 million people died because of it.
Speaking of starvation of millions, I finished The Burning God, the last bullshit ending.
Yes, bullshit ass ending.
If it's a shit ass ending, I don't want to read that book.
You might like it. I don't know.
And what I with the big three? I was like, what? I thought for sure that was a ruse.
Tell me how a 600-page book felt rushed I don't know, but it
Yeah,
did.
just something was, and the main character just gets more and more dislikable.
See, I did kind of like that because you know what happens to the CK, right? Death or the
Chulu Karik.
Yeah. So mad. She went mad.
I guess she did go insane in the membrane. She really did, yeah.
But see, that doesn't appeal to me either. I really liked her in the first book. She was a plucky heroine. In the second one, she kind of spiraled down, and I didn't like that. If that spiral continued into the third novel, now I'm going to give that a skip, The Burning God.
I do like that she becomes a hardened commander. She
becomes the general that she resented.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've really struggled with allergies today. Have I mentioned that?
You sure you don't got COVID?
Pretty sure.
Have you taken some Zyrtec or whatever?
Johnny told me his friend went from Alaska to South Carolina or vice versa, whatever.
Bye.
After she had been vaccinated and then caught COVID in one of those places and is now all fucked up.
Oh, really?
I'm like,
that's unfortunate.
What the fuck did I get those shots for then?
The vaccine is like 93% effective.
So she's just in the 7%.
Yeah. It's
Although
unfortunate.
It does not prevent necessarily you from getting COVID, but it generally prevents you from getting fucked up. So if she got fucked up, she must have one of these Delta Plus variants, and that's a big deal.
Maybe. New variants coming around, man. We're never getting out of this shit.
It's a pandemic. That's the whole point.
Well, in my history class, we're learning about globalization. Well, globalization's kind of been the theme of the whole thing, but he's having us watch a video on YouTube of this guy, and he's talking about globalization. Ultimately, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Right.
And he's like, it's good because now
you build on everyone's ideas. It's like the whole open source community type thing that we were trying to talk about earlier.
There's still a lot of poor and starving people, but now you would be hard pressed to find anyone in any country who has things all made in their own country. Everyone has shit from everywhere, mostly from China, but everywhere. And so on average, people just have more shit. But then and this video was made in 2012, and he's like, but if something were to happen like a pandemic, which hasn't happened since 1918, globalization could be a bad thing. It would spread very quickly, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just want to go back in time right there and be like, yeah, dude. Yeah, it does.
Don't let them disband the fucking pandemic response team.
People into wearing masks somehow.
Now.
Make it cool. I don't know how. Just make it cool.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of people bitching about masks. Like, dude, it's not that. You wear socks, don't you? You bitch. You are such a bitch if you hate wearing. Like, I guess it's annoying. It's hard to breathe.
For 14 hours a day,
it
fucking sucks.
It is. But listen, the people who have to wear masks for 14 hours a day are not the ones who refuse to wear masks. You know what I mean?
But they earn the right to bitch.
They can bitch about how much it hurts, but I'm talking about these redneck motherfuckers, comedians, entertainers. Like, can we just take the mask off, please? Like, dude, hey, shut up. It's not that big of a deal. If the government issued a full bubble boy plastic, like, fucking biohazard suit, and the CDC was like, you are legally mandated to wear this at all times, you can't expect people to do that. But it's a fucking mask, bro. It's not a big deal. It is not a big deal.
But this Delta Plus variant is a big deal. This Delta Plus variant, and then there's going to be more variants. It is all dependent, our ability to stamp out this virus, on our willingness as a society and a people to get vaccines. It's absolutely dependent on it.
I work with anti-vaxxers.
Just enough people are going to continue to not get vaccinated to keep a small pocket of it alive. We're never getting out of this, dude.
Well, it's partly because of misinformation. We know this. Yes. There's a new paper out by a multidisciplinary team, including biologists and genealogists and all kinds of weird
ice cream truck drivers
and climatologists. Yes, right. Clown Academy superintendents,
carnies,
members of the clergy. The whole point is that we don't understand the information environment anymore enough to know what the real problems even are. And so they're recognizing this information environment of really not being able to tell what the truth actually is. They're recognizing that as a multidisciplinary problem that has to be addressed as an immediate crisis because it threatens the future of the species.
You know what that means? You know what it has to be addressed because it's an immediate crisis means? That means it ain't getting addressed, bitch.
We're gonna die.
It's just not getting addressed. It won't until about 5 minutes before it's an absolute catastrophe. Much like global warming.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's like, hey, listen, we needed to fix this 25 years ago.
Look, I broke the panic button 15 years ago. I don't know what to tell you.
We got about 7 years left.
I was going to say 7 minutes. My vacation house is looking like a smarter and smarter purchase.
Because it's inland.
No, because in 7 years, it won't fucking matter anyway.
We'll all be dead. Yeah. Okay. Good idea.
Right. Always when I lose money, it's right before I was about to buy something neat, and I was like, I can't. then I'm without the money. I'm like, I should have bought that thing. Then I would still have the thing.
Another way of looking at that would be, hey, I should have put that money into a savings account because then I would still have that money.
That would be a gay way to look at it. No, I'm just kidding.
Is Dad giving you gruff for not having your finances in order?
Yes.
My finances are fine right now at this very second.
Flush.
Well, no. Not at all. But I'm fine.
Okay, it's fine.
I can afford my turkey sausage. Hey, I tell you, I put a fork through my hand.
What the fuck?
Look, there's the entry wound. There's the exit wound. Dink, dink. Right through the soft meat.
How sharp was that fork? What did you do?
I was giving it some fucking elbow grease.
Giving what? Some elbow grease?
Here's what it is. Been eating healthy. Okay.
Sure.
Got these turkey sausages. Now, they come in packs of 4 with the 2 on top of each other. I throw them in the freezer. Okay, so I get it out, throw it on the frying pan. I got a fucking solid fused puck.
Sir,
so what
you're supposed to defrost shit.
No, I don't got time for that. I'm hungry now. So what I do is I take
You're paying for your hubris is what you're doing.
I take the longest tined fork that I fucking have.
Sure.
I do this all the time.
Why not a knife?
We'll get to that. And so I stick the fork in between the thing and fucking... But this time, a little too much mustard on it, and it just went all the way through my hand.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yank it out, and I'm like, oh, fuck. But it's like literally in the perfect spot where it doesn't hurt. It went right through the webbing, through the soft meat.
How are the sausage patties?
Worth it.
Threw those out.
Oh, you threw out. Did you really?
But anyway, this was after my friends had just showed up to my house.
Yeah, Mom said that happened.
Yeah, he calls me. He's like, hey, can I stay at your apartment next week? I'm like, of course, dude. He's like, just kidding. I'll be there in an hour. And I was like, all right.
Great.
So we'd had a couple of drinks, you know?
So that's the real reason you didn't feel shit.
So I stabbed my fucking hand with the fork, and this other dude is like, dumbass, run it under cold water and use a knife. So what does he do? He grabs them, runs it under cold water, grabs a steak knife.
Oh my God. A butter knife would have been fine.
Right through his fucking hand, dude. And his is gnarly, bro.
Oh my God.
I think the turkey sausages won.
Now, at this point, it's 4 a.m. You know? Like, I can't go to Walgreens to go buy medical supplies. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't have a first aid kit because you're a boy.
Nothing. I have literally 1 box of SpongeBob Band-Aids.
Gauze from that guy who got shot in my front street.
And it's not enough. His shit is like, this hole right here is...
Do you even have like a dish towel and duct tape?
That's exactly what I had. I had paper towels that I like...
Not even dish towels.
Wind it up, and I'm putting duct tape on it. He's pale as a ghost. Lost quite a bit of blood. And it's pretty fucking deep. Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty fucking
His finger
gnarly.
doesn't work anymore. It's like you can pull the tendon and like...
He's holding it above his head. He's like, man, dude, I'm fucked up. I'm like, can you feel your finger? He's like, I was like pressing on. I was like, can you feel this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, can you bend it? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, just drink water, dude. You know, drink a bunch. I'm like,
sleep it off.
You want me to take you to the hospital? He's like, fuck no. And I'm like, then pound this water, dude.
Look at you taking care of him.
What is,
So,
give him a Tylenol at least or anything?
No.
what's the pounding the water going to do then? Just help him recreate some blood?
Yeah, because it was
get that plasma back up.
A bit of blood, quite a bit, and
so,
it was deep. Bro, it was nasty.
You're telling me that your apartment now looks even more like a hellscape.
It does.
Did you clean it up?
Yeah, of course I did. I'm not just going to leave loose blood all over the place.
Loose blood.
But some luminol would make it look like a Pollock painting.
No, I got some fucking Clorox wipes.
Okay.
And I threw those turkey patties out.
Because they were covered in human blood.
I mean, couldn't you have just rinsed it off and used it?
I mean, yeah, but like...
The moment was gone.
I had to play medic there for a little bit.
It's one thing to drop a turkey sausage patty on the floor and rinse it off. It's another thing when it's covered in human blood.
I got lucky, really. I don't know how 1 tine in a row of tines went through my hand and none of the other ones did.
Murphy scooped up a honeybee yesterday and got stung. Her hand swole up like twice as big as the other one. It was crazy.
Never assume that it's going to be nice to cuddle a bee.
Have you been seeing those videos of that blonde chick, kind of skinny on TikTok?
Yeah. She's the bee tamer. Yeah,
just not wearing shit, just grabbing.
When bees swarm like that, they're a lot more tame, and she uses a lot of smoke, and she says she gets stung.
Yeah, well, I also read a thing that her husband, like, she's kind of disingenuous about her practices, and
I don't doubt that.
That she's actually kind of a scummy piece of shit.
It's another great day of saving the bees.
Right.
Is that true that people on the internet sometimes aren't what they seem?
that they get
Goddamn
on the internet
Carol
and
Sometimes.
Baskins.
tell lies.
Sometimes.
Goddamn Carol Baskins. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
As if I know Carol Baskins or am in a place to judge her. You know what I have watched this week, though? Elsie and I watched the movie Starlight.
Stardust, dude.
God damn it.
You've seen stories of magical worlds, wicked witches, flying pirates, and dashing princes. But never has there been an adventure quite like this.
Everyone's talking about fallen stars.
I don't even like the fucking movie, but at least I know what it's called.
Is it called Stardust?
Yeah.
Stardust. Here we go.
Elsie hated it.
It was fine.
She
It was
hated
fine.
it.
What was it? Give me a quick 10-second review or rundown.
10-second rundown. Boy promises to get girl a thing from a fantasy world. Finds out that he falls in love with the thing. The thing is another girl.
That's a terrible synopsis. It's a fantasy story in which there's this magical kingdom hidden within England and no one knows it's there. It's just tucked behind this wall. And his
Narnia
dad,
knockoff?
Yeah, it's a Narnia knockoff.
a version thereof, his dad goes over the wall, randomly impregnates this woman, and then 9 months later, she sends the baby out to the guy. And so this baby grows up, and then he ends up in this magical land for various sundry reasons involving a woman that he's trying to impress, and he gets sucked into all the drama of this inner world. And it turns out that his mom was actually the only daughter of the king who had recently died, leaving him an heir to the throne, blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like something Sandy would have read.
He goes off to go get the head of a goat, the head of a satyr for his girlfriend
And
back in
inherits
the
a
real
kingdom.
world. He runs
Right.
into Mr. Tumnus, sucks him off, and becomes king of Narnia.
I suppose, like, one of the highlights of the whole stupid thing is that Robert De Niro plays a very gay ship captain who, like, takes
Robert
them
De
in.
Niro, please. He's done. He's old. I'm sick of seeing his old ass.
Same.
He sucks.
Same. So my whole issue with this movie was that it was this kind of lighthearted, fantastical tale that had it been shot and directed in a way that played up to that would have been cool. But they had these very serious actors like Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer and Claire Danes and shit trying to play these lighthearted, fantastical roles. And it was shot in this very too super realism and too dark. It was inconsistent with the story it was trying to tell.
Elsie's
Yeah.
just shitting on this movie. Millions love it. She's just shitting on it.
If millions love it, why?
Sounds shitty to me.
Have you ever
Wait,
heard
did
of
you
this
like
movie?
it?
Yeah, it's because it wasn't good, so nobody was like, "Oh, we should go see this movie."
Well, I guess here's the bottom line. When I saw in 2007 in the theater, I thought at that time, wow, this is a pretty good movie. It exceeded my expectations.
Oh, this isn't a new movie.
No, it's from 2007.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Well, still, let's kill Robert De Niro, though.
Right, he sucked 14 years ago. He sucks today, in your opinion.
Robert De Niro should have molten gold and silver poured into his eyes and ears.
Wow.
I don't even know who the fuck Robert De Niro is.
He sucks, dude, and it's fine.
I also did start watching Attack on Titan while I started working out.
Great. And how do you like it?
Well, it is freaky, man. Those Titans are scary.
Yeah, it's spooky. It's very unnerving.
Do you watch subs or dubs?
Subs.
Good.
God
Like a
damn it.
goddamn gentleman. Like a cultured man.
Do you listen to it at all, or do you just read it?
I listen to it.
Yeah, you got it because the soundtrack's good. The
The
soundtrack's
soundtrack is
good.
really good.
I like to understand it. The subtitle said thank you, and she said domo. I'm like, hey, I understand that.
Yeah. You pick up, you start
I
watching it for 13
fucking
years like I
weeb.
have. And you
Shut up, you fucking weeb.
I'm basically Japanese, dude. Go over there and
Did you know that you can't settle over there?
What do you mean? You can't get citizenship
Yeah, white people
if you're a
can't.
round eye?
Yeah.
They might be a little salty about.
No,
What
I mean,
we've
like, they
done.
don't allow
yeah.
immigrants.
It's a
Well, they've
cultural thing.
always been a pretty hey, we don't fuck with nobody.
That's what I'm saying. It's like always. I didn't know that they were a closed country like that. I thought that
they're-
was interesting.
And they were very up until recent. I don't know how it is now, but during World War II and also all time that they existed before that, they were very not cool with Christians, and they associated Christians with Europeans. They really thought that it was an infectious.
What
you
is?
know,
They basically observed the behavior and thought, "Yeah, that's a pestilence upon society."
Well,
so yeah, they've always been rather exclusionary.
exclusionary
to
indeed.
themselves.
It's becoming a problem for them, though. They have the worst demographic crisis of any developed nation in the world.
That's where I heard about it. Was when I was however many weeks ago that was talking about the birth rates and stuff. They talked about that and how they have a program now where you can, if you work there, settle your family there, but not really or something. And they're still not big on immigrants.
You know what's crazy? Speaking of Mao Zedong, who's Chinese, not Japanese, but And like communists, like how bad the communist experiment has failed almost every time, except China right now. Are they still communists?
Yes, they're communists, but it's really more about just being flat out, I'm Xi Jinping and I'm in charge.
Well,
it's communism in name.
Well, I'm just saying, like, China makes everyone shit. They're like, everyone's indebted to China, so, it's not good if you're a normal average citizen living in China. Probably not that great, but
it's not that bad. Look, actually, it's pretty good. My standard of living is constantly improving. If I'm a Chinese citizen, all I have to do is not say anything about the government. That's all I have to do.
Which I'm gonna be honest, like, I wouldn't really. That's wrong. But like, if that's what it took, you know what I mean? I'd just shut the fuck up.
Well, that's the thing, is that people are remarkable at surviving.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if I'm doing pretty well, if all of my material needs are met, and all the government is asking for me to do is to shut the fuck up, maybe I'll do that. But on the other hand, then how do I get justice if somebody runs over my child, right? A party apparatchik. He's got the connections to get away with it. What do I do?
That was the argument with Genghis Khan when he had finally taken over most of Eurasia. It's like the steppes especially was lawless.
Wild West.
Getting kidnapped was like, Genghis Khan himself was kidnapped several times as a child. Hostages and all that shit. And then when he came around, there's laws. And if you break those laws, you're in fucking trouble.
There are consequences.
You know what I mean? So there's security. It was said, finally, towards the end of his reign, that a girl could walk the length of the Silk Road, which is all of Eurasia, with a pot of gold on her head completely unmolested. No one would ever fuck with her because if you're getting your fucking head chopped off if you step out of line.
Right.
Which is nice. However, Genghis Khan could come riding through your town on a routine checkup, see your daughter, and say, oh, I'm taking her. You know what I mean?
She's my concubine now.
Or not even Genghis Khan, just some fucking Mongolian commander. There's trade-offs.
There sure are. In any event, happy birthday, Xi Jinping.
Is it his birthday today?
I have no idea. I don't know when his birthday is, but...
Happy birthday,
Mr. Winnie the Pooh. Happy birthday, Winnie the Pooh.
Dude, Chinese Marilyn Monroe. How hot would that be, dude?
It would just be regular ass Marilyn Monroe that the American government flew in there on the, to keep relations good.
Performed controversial surgery on her to make her Asiatic, which would be botched.
Pulled her eyes open a little bit more,
Dude, I saw this picture of this Japanese, or an Asian, I'm pretty sure it was Japanese, but it was an Asian person, influencer, who got surgery to like...
be more Western?
Yeah, dude, botched.
It's
it was on botched surgeries, which is a subreddit that is...
Fuck that.
It's not that bad, you know what I mean? It's not
except for when it is.
Well, it's just basically people, it's all face shit, but some tits that are like just...
botched
and asses that are botched, bro. Botched bad. Wow. That's the one thing you don't want botched.
Is everything associated with plastic surgery. You don't want any of that botched. I'm very fortunate that all of my work has been very tasteful, very discreet, hardly noticeable.
Yeah, tasteful.
Is that where my inheritance went?
Yes. What inheritance? Listen, it's important that I look my best at all times.
Yeah, for a radio personality, that's really important.
He wants to go looking from a 55-year-old man to a 30-year-old lizard.
I already look like a 30-year-old lizard. That's really not a far trip for me at all.
That's an old Bill Burr joke. I thought it would,
Thanks for breaking that out.
Play here, didn't do it, so it's fine.
Hey, one last thing on a lighter note. They found 725 bodies of young First Nations children up in Catholic-run schools in British Columbia and Alberta,
unmarked graves,
other places like that in Canada, Saskatchewan or wherever, someplace in Canada.
It was Saskatchewan, I'm pretty sure. It was one of those. We're taking these native kids, we're going to turn them white in these schools.
Yeah, and those who disagreed,
which is what was on paper, but really they were all just getting beaten and fucked and killed
and got unalived. Yeah,
unalived. Thanks, Catholic Church.
And they were putting in work. It was like 700 bodies, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, in that one place.
All day beating and killing these kids.
And don't forget the fucking.
They was fucking them.
Just another horrific example of how we have fucked the indigenous population.
Well, and another
Canada, actually.
They're white.
Yeah, they are white.
And another example of how the Catholic Church, how is that still allowed to exist? I mean, good grief.
Talk about cancel culture. Yeah, we should cancel Catholicism.
They make Scientologists look like nice guys. And Scientologists are crazy people. For $300,000, you can learn what it is to be an operating Thetan level 5. Did you know that?
Listen, they only make Scientologists look nice because if Scientology had been around as long as the Catholic Church, I'm sure they'd be neck and neck.
You think Epstein wasn't a Scientologist?
Scientology is
You
right
think he
now
was?
where Catholicism was in like the 1100s.
No, I don't think so, dog. I don't think so.
Yeah. The Catholic Church used to be able to buy, literally with money, buy your way into heaven, buy indulgences.
Oh, for sure. You still
You
can.
you would go and confess to a priest.
You
It's
still
the
do.
Classic. You still do. It's the classic old tell us your dirt to get the sins off you. Well, now we know this about you, so pay up.
Haven't you ever seen the Sopranos episode where Paulie Walnuts goes and chews out his local priest because he's been having these visions of people he's killed, and he's accusing the priest of letting him down on the job? Who was there for you, Father, when you needed new drapes for the sacristy? I was. Who was there when you needed Little League uniforms for the team? I was there. You fell down on the job, and you left me unprotected.
That was a pretty good impression.
He's accusing the priest of not driving off the nightmares of the people he regrets killing.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
For not washing his sins.
That's what you get for being a dumbass Catholic.
No shit.
Love you,
I mean, it
bye.
does suck, but
All right, bye.
A Shin Show is a production of Shinfluence. It features the voices and opinions of the Shin family, which are entirely and exclusively their own. Join us each week on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks as always to our regular listeners. We love to hear from you. Please email us at ashinshow@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.